Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are in round 2 of Adriana's tournament. Oh, I think I can hear myself. And the game has literally just kicked off. They are very on time. Like, I've done commentary for tournaments in Italy, never on time. Not once, ever. So this is lovely to see. We are white. We see d4, d5. C4, so and E6. So we're going into Queen's Gambit. Potentially declined. We could take this pawn, but so far Queen's Gambit declined. I'm assuming that if we take at any point, it becomes accepted or transposes. This is good because I'm trying to learn this. So this is going to be great for me. I'm loving it and living the dream. And also I should do one thing and turn the music off. Okay. So I'm waiting to see how Adriana plays this. I may have questions if she wants to join with us later as well. But so far, so good. Very standard moves. Black will probably want to get the bishop to e7. The bishop g5 is the main line. Or one of the main lines, I should say, because you can take in the center, which then causes you to have this kind of imbalanced pawn structure. I believe, and Oscar, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Carlsbad pawn structure, or am I going insane? Where it's sort of a reflection, or do we need something different? And it's a pawn structure I know nothing about, if that was the case. Yes! I have chess knowledge. I gained that from nowhere because I have not read about pawn structures, so this is I'm glad I managed to nail the pawn structure. So this is the Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation. So taking the center, bishop e7, bishop g5. These are all normal ideas. e3, we've gotten the bishop outside of the pawn chain. We'd be happy to trade for black's dark squared bishop. We can kick it and kind of force the bishop back. The bishop may want to take on f6 at a later date, even though it comes back to h4. Although this is in a different line, so this nuance may be incorrect. Because I think the bishop on f6 is kind of badly placed. It's hard for us to do anything. We do want to c5 push as black. But so far, like standard developing moves, we will get a decent game. You don't know why CD so early. Yeah, that's something I do not know why, but I think it's to do... this is a whole thing, and CD5 in this position is actually the most played move outside of bishop g5. I've actually got a file on this that David Proust made me, so I need to look at this and why. But this is why I used to play the semi-Slav, and I used to play c6 before e6, because in the exchange it was slightly different. But in any case, normal developing moves. Black doesn't want c5 to get an IQP. c6 is more normal. Yeah. I hate playing with an IQP. I don't know how to do it. But so far we're definitely, in the realms of opening theory. c6 makes a lot of sense here, as does castles. You could just castle. Not sure of the exact differences, but castles or c6. c6 defends the pawn. Bishop d3, and I think we'll see castles and maybe knight f3. You can also actually delay castling, and I think this is more how I would play, is knight bd7 first. And then we can castle, and I would assume knight f3, so white will start preparing to castle. The thing is with knight f3, we also get bishop g5. I don't know if any of these are clean, clear moves that should be played either, but there's just a general sense of like where pieces can go. Thing is, it would be lovely to try and trade this bishop off for this one. That's my French brain talking, right? So, as in my French defense brain. My brain is not French. Well, maybe if you go far back enough, it might be, because I'm from Jersey, which used to be part of Normandy. And it became part of Britain because William the Conqueror invaded England and won. So he became the King of England. But he was actually Norman. And so was I. Or my aunt. So were my ancestors. So pretty much French, maybe. In any case. But c5 is a potential break, I guess, in the future. So in general, in the long term, as far as I understand and look at this, is that we have a pawn minority on the queen side. And what we would love to do is use this minority to break apart these pawns and create a bit of weakness. So once we get developed and castled and stuff, I think a4 can be met with a5, annoyingly. We can't get b4 at the moment, so like we would love to be able to push b5 at some point to try and break up these pawns a little bit. I'm not sure of the exact plans on how we want to do that though. But that's how we get counterplay because of the. It's harder for black to use their minority against our kind of bigger majority, whereas we can utilize these. Chassis royalty every time. Can't stay today, but couldn't resist the temptation. Well, I was just talking about my heritage, actually. I don't know if you missed it, but I was talking about how William the Conqueror invaded England, and because I said my French brain, and I meant my French defense brain. But then I was like, well, if you go back far enough, I'm kind of French. My ancestors were part of Normandy, and then William the Conqueror won the battle for England, and so we became British. Alas, et faisant bien is my family motto, which is ingérer, which is essentially medieval French, which means to do your best. Direct translation is in doing well, but the sentiment is to do your best. In faisant bien. And our crest is a pheasant, because a play on words for faisan and pheasant. So our opponent's thinking a bit here. Little bit surprising they're spending this much time here. This should be, you're 7 moves into your opening. There's not any big tactical motifs that you need to be super aware of. You should be able to get a sense that our player is also 1861 FIDE, so they're not a slouch. They're probably around my level. That said, in a long time control game, you can definitely use your time. But I'm surprised they're using time here. Because the 2 moves that are screaming out to me are short castles or knight bd7. I don't think they should be thinking about any of these pawn pushes. B6, bishop, no. You can't go bishop here. And you probably want to delay bringing this, the only 2 squares, I mean, you can go to 3 squares, but the only 2 squares that make sense for the bishop are bishop e6 and bishop g5. And this one is bishop e6 is passive. For now, you can always come to that when you need to, if you have to defend the pawn. Bishop g5 is currently possible as well. So that's probably what they're thinking on a bit, is do they care about doing the pin right now? White will also develop weak castles, and is the bishop an annoyance on g5? Is it really annoying for white? I don't know. Black can think about playing a5 and make the minority a bit slower and open their rook when it happens. Yeah, but something about pushing a5 right now feels a bit too much in terms of don't commit pawns. But it does make sense. Like I was saying, I know the long-term plan for white is to use these pawns to smash open or smash apart this majority and create more weakness. I need to go over some strategy on this, actually. a5 can always come later, although because b4 is not possible right now. You can kick the bishop. You can choose to kick the bishop as well. So a thematic idea that I've seen in my Queen's Gambit files is that once the bishop does come to b5, usually I castle then kick the bishop though, or knight b7, kick the bishop. But I would probably play knight bd7 from vague memory. Queen c2, completely normal move. More pressure is getting put on different aspects of the board. Castles, knight f3, and then h6 I think would come. Rook e8 is an idea as well, but h6, bishop h4, rook e8 still comes. Castles. Knight e4 is a more equalizing move, as far as I understand, in terms of how we trade a lot of stuff off. For example, knight e4, bishop e7, queen e7, knight takes or bishop takes. Oh, sorry, of course, bishop takes. D takes, and then maybe knight d2 and f4 or knight f6, f5 or knight f6. Knight f6 is probably more logical. I don't like defending pawns like this, but there's no real way for you to dislodge this knight. So we could definitely see something like this. I think that feels quite normal for the position. Oh, you meant later on. Yeah, sorry. I thought you were considering it right now, Oscar. I see. I've actually changed the setting on my camera today as well, so I'm not like, it's done a lot better job. I'm not like half in darkness, and it's not going in and out of dark light, which is brilliant. What kind of tea? Turmeric. I'm all over having this turmeric tea. I genuinely I never had turmeric tea before, and now I've just like, I've had like a few cups and I'm like, yep, I want to drink this like whenever I play chess now. Which is all the time, let's be honest. So the good thing about playing high-rated opponents is they play moves you expect because the moves make sense. When you play lower-rated, sometimes it's really hard to take advantage of their terrible moves because there's a nuance. And although they're a terrible move, it's more a slow building up of the position because you know the move they made is not great. You've got to figure out why, and then you've just got to keep building and building and building until you have a great enough advantage to win tactically. Or to just like, you know, squeeze them until the end. And so that usually results in a short game if you can keep building up the advantages quite quickly. But when you play someone who's similar to your level, generally they're thinking of the similar kind of moves to you. And this is why it gets a bit more drawish. It's harder to trick someone who's seeing the same things as you all the time. And so it's a matter of your evaluation in a certain position versus their evaluation in a certain position. And having that skill to be able to out-evaluate someone who will see the same moves, but you go, this is better because of this, they might miss a nuance, or, you know, those inaccuracies will also build up. Hey, Joan. Interesting to see d4 played before knight c6. D5. Yeah, but that is normal, Wendy. Sorry to the YouTube chatters. I've just come into the YouTube chat. Wendy, d5 is completely normal. That essentially is more linear way to get the queen's gambit declined. Knight f6. I'm assuming you meant knight f6 as well. Yeah. Because knight f6, e6, d5, you can transpose into this, but that also allows you to get the Nimzo Indian, which is a better try for black. Or it's not really. At high levels, they'll try and go for the Nimzo, but quite often people won't allow it because it's a lot of, it gives a lot of opportunity, I guess, for black. Okay, so we go knight e4 fairly instantly. I think this is early, but is it Capablanca? Someone, again, in one of my files, it talks about knight e4 as a move. We liquidate down. But can we not take on e7? I'm also wondering if like bishop takes e4 is just a pawn, isn't it? So bishop e4, bishop takes. It's not just a pawn. Of course it's not. So we don't want bishop e4. Maybe knight e4. Bishop takes, you don't want to do. So why is knight e4? Bishop takes, we take. We're doing incredibly well there. So knight e4, d takes. There's an equal trade. No, so it works out the same. So we don't want to relieve this tension in the middle. My calculation is being slow there. I think bishop e7, and we're doing pretty okay. We are allowing some small element of development, but we've gotten rid of our bishop is slightly worse than theirs because of the pawn structure. So I'm fairly happy with that, but it's an even trade. Oh, the duck. How did it go? I hope you're, yeah. How many rounds was your tournament again? Okay, in standard, you got 3.5 out of 9. Okay, that's good going. Gained 7.6 FIDE. Well done. You lost all the games against 1800 plus FIDE players, though. That's a great sign. You put up a good fight against them, so that's really good signs. And you'll learn a lot from those games. Analyze those games, and hopefully you'll be fighting even harder next time around. Okay, so this feels early. We could also say, you know what, I'm going to keep some pieces on the board, and I'm going to play bishop f4. And I have a feeling like queen c7 is usually like a nice square for the queen when we've got these kind of c6 plays from black, because we want the knight to probably come to d7, so we don't want to go queen d7 or bishop d7. And bishop f4 is annoying because it is restricting on that front. Annotate, analyze, reflect. I like that. I haven't thought of it like that. Also, when I learn, I try and verbalize what I'm learning to myself while I'm learning it and summarizing after each step of what I've learned. And then at the end, kind of reflect and re-summarize everything. I think it's a good way to try and lock it in. You think critically about what you've learned. And do you agree? Do you disagree? Because you might disagree with what you've learned as well. And you may believe one certain thing, and you might need more proof or evidence that your way isn't the right way, or that your way actually might be a good way for you, maybe not for someone else. So think critically about what you have learned, and that should always put you in good stead. Any tips from getting 1,000 to 1,500, like studying opening or endgame? If so, what book do you recommend? I can tell you exactly, Andy. From my experience. So obviously it may not be the same for you. We do see bishop takes e7. Love to see it. Or do we? Hang on. No, we don't. She's still thinking. And it is, I can tell you for a fact, it's tactics. Everyone will say this, but I can tell you how you should be studying your tactics. Because I did it. I essentially went from 1100 to like 1450 by doing tactics from an app which is free called CT Art. Every day for like 3 months I did 45 minutes of their tactics. They are hard. They will push you. You need to be doing tactics that will push you. I'm not talking puzzle rush, because by the time you get through the first like 5, 10, 15, 20, they're all super easy. You need things that you will actually calculate. And the reason CT Art is good, Woodpecker Method is really good material as well. I don't know the rating value, but CT Art is really good because it makes you, there's not necessarily one solution, and it will make you do all of the lines. If they're like, for example, you're checking the king can move to 2 squares. You'll have to calculate both lines. It will make you play both lines, and it will also give you, when you play wrong moves, for the most part, annotations as to why that move is not wrong. And then it makes you finish the puzzle. And if you don't do it in like 6 goes or something, then it gives you a smaller section of the board with a kind of theme to complete. They will be hard, but you need to complete tactics in the right way. And that is calculating them through to the end before you play a move. Yeah, great. So if you're doing Woodpecker Method and that's working for you, keep doing that. Oh, thanks, Andy. I appreciate it. But I can guarantee, like, that's what happened. That's what got me from 1200 to 1400. What gained me 100 FIDE points in my tournament. So I played a FIDE tournament, 9-round open. I gained 92 FIDE in that tournament. I went from 1680 something to 1778. And that was 3 months of doing chess tactics from scratch. That is above your level right now, though. So they were really hard for me. They still are. I haven't completed it, but I did an hour every day of hard calculation with chess tactics from scratch. I read all those 12 chapters that preface the tactics, and then I'm still doing those. But yeah, you need to just put in the work. And one thing that I found really useful for that is Chess Dojo. I can track my training on that. Okay, so we see bishop takes e7. So sorry, I've gotten a massive side tangent about tactics. Learn main lines. You've got a coach, so that's going to help you majorly. Andy tactics can get you to like 2,100, 2,000. You do not need to study openings. Just play an opening. Pick one and stick with it. That will also help you. So it's not just studying your tactics. Stick to an opening for white and an opening for black. And obviously you'll have to have some responses to e4, d4, c4, knight f3. You'll build those over time, but pick an opening. I'd recommend the Scotch as white. Very easy concepts. It's very sharp. Open games are really important for you as a beginner. And that's, again, what got me. I play the French as black. You don't have to play the French. I stuck with it. I hated it for a while, but I stuck through it. But play a main line. It's probably a good idea because people don't know theory. And you'll learn this. The better you get, the more you don't play the French. Yeah. I'm an outlier on the French, I think. But the French is good for teaching you pawn structure and the importance of structure. And no sacks on f7. But yeah, in any case. Okay, so our opponent's thinking on bishop takes e7, which is hugely surprising for me. Was this a surprise to her? I mean, she might be thinking about knight takes c6. Bishop takes, knight takes, rook takes, and king takes, which to me is kind of crazy, but it's not the worst thing in the world. We've lost castling rights, but it doesn't matter so much now. The queens and a bit of material are off the board. But I'd say we develop, get my rook out if I was black. Actually, or maybe I'd start with the bishop, trying to create weakness, but open g-file isn't too much of a problem and could be more problematic for black after a while. So yeah, she could be thinking about liquidating down like this, which is quite forcing and fairly drawish, I'm assuming. To b3. Yeah, that's a really great way to play against a French. b3 throws a spanner in the works. I am actually thinking about learning a b3 response to the French, because French players won't know it. But I can't tell if Oscar's joking about saying don't play the French as like genuinely good advice, or just because, you know, he doesn't like the French. That said, a lot of the top players played the French as kids, so, you know. Ah, great. Those are great. I would also say play e4, but that's a preference thing. So, sounds like you're on the right track. Oh no, okay. Sorry, she wasn't really thinking too much. I mean, she thought quite like 3 minutes 37 seconds. So she must have been calculating knight takes c3. But yeah, queen takes e7, more natural move. And now I would say maybe knight e2. This is on the basis that I'm not a huge fan of allowing knight takes or queen c2 even. Queen c2 I like because we're actually putting pressure on the pawn. We're forcing to take, so this is a forcing move. The ways that black can respond is knight takes c3, which is probably the better move. I would probably go queen c3 to retain, to not have this backwards pawn. But now I say this. The reason c takes is maybe a little bit tempting actually, is because then we have a pawn break of c4. Maybe we'll get a central passer later on. I'm not sure if I would like to play like this, personally. Is that as black or as white, Oscar? Oh, congrats. As white. Yeah. People don't play that against me so much, but that's because I'm yet to play higher rated people in the French. A lot of them like this knight f6. So yeah, I think queen c2 is a natural move, as is knight e2. Then we can look at castles. Maybe there's a world we can kick the knight and keep pushing. I think rook e8, queen c2 are all completely normal moves. There might be a world of bishop f4 looking for bishop g6, which I think makes a lot of sense, because as in the French, which we're not in, but also the reason why David Proust has suggested I play the Queen's Gambit declined is because they sort of go hand in hand. The Queen's Gambit declined in the French because we've got to deal with the problem of our bad bishop. What up, Sherlock? Welcome in. Welcome. So yeah, but we're having a good think. I think, it's good to have a think about this stuff. We're sort of getting on the edge of probably our theoretical knowledge, especially after knight e4, which feels quite early. I think the right decision was made with bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, and queen c2 feels very normal, as does knight g e2. Bishop e4 has been played, and queen c2 has been played most, but bishop e4 has been played because e4 comes. And then we go queen c2 and we're threatening the pawn. So we've got to go f5 or bishop f5. And then this is quite weakening. So I really don't mind taking like this on the basis that you like white's Carlsbad structure here. Interesting. As we progress through the game, I'll be interested to pick your brains about the Carlsbad. And the reason I quite like this and giving up the bishop for the knight is that this bishop is going to be hemmed in by its pawns. We're going to put more pressure in, and we're going to force black to make some kind of committal decisions. We've got this glorious square, if we can ever get to it, on e5. Now, it can be challenged. So we'd need a knight on c4, which is probably going to not be allowed. But we also have a square on on f4. We support d4. We can maybe long castles. Knight f4, g5 would just be like crazy committal here. As you can see, the engine's like, whoa, understandably so. How do you know what color bishop you should trade or which one I should preserve? This is, as with anything in chess, dependent on the position. But like I'm saying here, you don't have to do this. You don't have to make the trade. I would make the argument that my knight could be better than your bishop in the long run, or like one of my knights will be about equal to the black's knight, but the other knight will technically may be stronger than the bishop if I can keep it restricted by its own pawns. You thought I was against the eval bar. You talking to me? I'm not against it. I'm not using engine lines, but in commentary, betraying. No, I would like to do commentary without eval, but the reality is I'm only a certain level, so I think it's a good indicator, and it forces me to work things out, because if I'm not looking at the lines, I can see where like I make a big mistake. But also for people watching that aren't as good at chess, and I'm not even that good, but I'm just better than that average, right? It gives you a sense of score. It's much more engaging, and going, oh, that's a mistake, and understanding that there's a mistake, versus trusting me to tell them that's a mistake as well, because some people won't do that. But yes, I agree. I should not really be doing eval. But what I do like to do with the eval bar though is I want to make the prediction before I make the move to say this is going to drop the eval, or this is going to gain, or it's going to stay the same. So I'll try to do that a little bit more. In House We Trust. You know you trust your judgment better than mine in chess. You trust me to give it a good try. So we see knight f3 here. I wouldn't have chosen knight f3 over knight e2 personally. Knight f3 I feel a little bit safer, because it just a bit more flexibility. Knight f3, I get it. Knight e5 is probably where you want to be trying to go. We can actually kick it with f6, which I know people hate, but in reality, you can quite often push f6 in the French. And I'm guessing, let's have a look. Knight e5. f6. Yeah, okay. And it like ever so slightly doesn't like it because you are creating weakness, but we can kick the knight out. But we always have the option. So maybe more importantly than actually pushing it, we have the option to kick the knight when it suits us. And that's really important. But we might actually want f5 here, because what we do is we prevent and lock down white's bishop by actually putting all of our pawns on light squares. Let's just make sure. But knight f3 means that we've got access to e5, which might be really important for us later. So here, I would expect probably black to castle, or while we've got the time, before white gets to play h3, we could play bishop g5. Also, the drawback of knight f3 is this pin. So we get a pin with development. Now, we probably don't want to be uber aggressive. I kind of really, actually, I say we don't want. I want to be uber aggressive and push this. It's a bit much. But then, so after bishop back, maybe queen c2, but then there's bishop g6 here. But then maybe we try out our luck with knight e5. Or maybe, yeah. Maybe f5. No, we takes. Everything gets a bit loose, and we're not castled, and we're not ready to castle because we want to castle queenside in a scenario like this. Also, because we've opened the c file, Maybe it's a little bit more risky for us. Not super, super risky, but we got an open c file. We probably want to get a rook there. So this is all a bit much. Very tempting to make moves like that, but experience sort of dictates that it's probably a bad idea. But I would actually anticipate a quick bishop g5 here. While you have the chance, I think it's really important too. Bishop f4 is less annoying now, offering trades, because we don't have knight h5 just yet, because the queen. We don't have knight h5, so maybe it's not that straightforward. Knight back to d2 I think is problematic. For white, I don't like offering the trade in this way. So bishop f4 is actually maybe slightly better than bishop g4. Bishop f5, sorry, is maybe slightly better than g4, looking at it once it's on the board. I mean, they are probably fairly equal, but bishop g4 is definitely a more natural move, I think. You can also play knight d7 and look to support your knight in the center here. Queen c2, knight f6. Now there's no knight e5. Now that there could be, sorry, knight h4. I get all my squares mixed up all the time. Knight e2 was better. Bishop f5. Yes, sorry, bishop f5. Knight d2. Bishop f4, knight d2. Knight takes f2. Oh, that's nice. That is very nice. So let's put this on the board. And we win a piece. Apparently there's better. Huh. Oh, we just take the knight. We don't even need to take on f2. Knight takes e3, yeah. I mean, knight takes f2 feels nicer to me, but you know what I'm saying. Because we at least get the piece in return, but this is not fun. I can tell you that for free. So yeah, let's not fall into some silly tactics. If you have to play an awkward move, or if you play an awkward move, if you think it's awkward, so this was ringing awkward bells to me. I was like, oh, it's a bit awkward because I undefend my bishop. If you ever discommunicate your pieces, it's probably bad. And this is a prime move that disconnects one piece in your position from another, and you will pay the price by losing a piece. Not sure why knight f3 instead of knight ge2. I am the same. I personally would have gone knight ge2, meaning if you take, I take with tempi, and essentially you've actually freed up the position, and then I can castle, and I've got the same position, except you've just lost a really strong piece. No, yeah, this is prophylaxis against bishop g4. That is correct. This is actually a little bit scary. So we have to play pawn takes, so we don't allow this. And bishop back, and then we need to defend. And we're good. But yeah, it's f3 is not the play. I think just castles, and we'll keep equilibrium. So yeah, knight f3. It's still probably a fine move, but I think it's less flexible. Oh, turmeric tea, man. I'm highly rating it. Oh, my chat box is kind of working. I don't know. You should fly to Europe and play tournaments there and have a higher chance to beat those high-rated players. Where are you from, Duck Gang? Are you in the US? Yeah, Oscar has things to say about it. Hong Kong. Yeah, you've got a tough field out there. That's for sure. That is for sure. That's fair enough. Okay. All right, Adriana's got up, gone for a walk. It's good to stretch your legs in between games. I am incapable of actually looking at boards and absorbing what's going on, but I pretend to look at games while I'm walking around, when in actual fact I'm calculating my game in my own head. Just playing it blindfold. Which sometimes is quite good to do because you don't get ghost pieces as much. Oh, we're getting there's some throwing down in chat. Duel to the death. Put out the alt accounts quickly. In general, so we're 9 moves in. Each player is used, or our opponent, who is 1861 FIDE, by the way. It's average just around about 3 minutes a move, just under. Which I think is okay. But in terms of their time spent, they spent 11 minutes on move 7 on 94, which is kind of insane to me. You should have a feel for these positions. And then 3 minutes, and then another 11 minutes on bishop g4. I can understand maybe thinking a bit more about the bishop g4 kind of stuff. You need to calculate things through if you're not familiar with the opening theory. And it's very easy for me to be critical as well of time usage when my time usage is also terrible. But that's also where I'm talking from a point of experience, because time management is a problem at all levels, not just grandmasters. I can experience time problems or be better with time management than some grandmasters. Unlikely, because their experience dictates, but look at Gukesh, world champion, huge time problem. If he didn't tank so hard, he'd have a lot more time to convert a lot of games that he should have converted at the end. But I'm assuming that's a problem they fix, and when they fix that, my man, that kid is a tough cookie. He's a tough cookie anyway, even with the problem. Bishop g4, the more natural move. I actually really started to like bishop f4, and I think because it's more subtle, right? And I'm growing to appreciate some subtleties of moves. Queen c2 fairly quickly blitzed out, so this shows Adriana's experience in a position like this. and just saying, I'm happy for you to double these pawns. Your knight is going to move out of the position. You can go knight back here to threaten the pawn. Does it really do much? I don't know. I don't think so. And the question is, we probably queen e2. It feels like we're wasting some time here, though. Feels like we're wasting some time. Is there another way? Bishop e2 feels a bit meh also. I'm wondering if we can just give up the pawn. I'm not a huge fan of long castles. And knight takes. Yeah, it's hard to figure out this doubling of the pawns. But she obviously understands that this is okay. It feels like gaining control over e4 is very important. Seeing the tactical follow-up, I guess, of if knight f5, do we care about the pawn? Because I was wondering if we just push knight check and then king up. We just lose to this, so that's definitely not good. King d8, like that's kind of scary to me. And this reminds me of the game yesterday, that there might be a little bit of all like off-book nuance, but yeah, so she's going for it, the doubling of the pawns. But Adriana plays in such a relentless manner in terms of imbalance. She's happy to have sort of these imbalances, sacrificing exchanges, opening files. Yeah, it's really incredible to watch her play. So I'm really happy that I get to commentate on these games as well. Oh, let's have a look at the restream chat. Make sure I didn't miss anyone. No. The Duck Gang and Oscar. Mr. Duck won? Fair enough. I thought it went pretty quiet. Fair. It was blitz though, right? Classical's a different beast. Rook d7 check was blundered. Well, later on I may have to check out the game. Right now, I cannot. So, knight g4 is an idea. Knight g5, sorry, not knight g4. Yeah, I'm very curious as to what happens after knight g5. Oh, she doesn't opt. She opts to trade and say you've got a weakness. Queen takes or pawn takes, and then I try and push c4, but pawn takes here. Then you've got a backwards pawn here. a4 is annoying. So this could be very tricky. Yeah, because we start breaking everything up. Our king can be really safe on e2, I think, in the future. And this feels pretty great. So my line, fortunately the engine's agreeing with me that we can take with the pawn. And then if b5, a4. That is accurate. That is extremely accurate. And it is probably quite natural to play queen takes. I don't know if there's that much in it in terms of queen takes or pawn takes. So yeah. I'm kind of happy to pawn takes. Yeah, because if you castle, well, firstly, I have bishop takes h7, which is great for me. If you pull the knight out, I probably don't want to push c4 now, because then I actually give you this square. Ah, no, but I will have e5, so maybe e4 is okay. Sorry, e4. I can't allow this. Okay. Can I castle in this position? Is that crazy? Or do I want to undouble my pawns? Is that also crazy? Yeah. I don't mind castling. I'm trying to get my king on the g file. Or I can just go rook g1. What am I talking about? Rook g1, king e2, also an idea. As I said before, kind of safe. Really hard for you to actually do anything. Really interesting position. Every time I said I have a feeling that she'll play something, she usually plays the other thing, which is a slightly better move. So I'm not going to say anything this time around. I'm going to wait and see. She's 15 minutes ahead on the clock, essentially, or 12 minutes ahead on the clock, which is great. You love this structure with the queens off. So I'm assuming for white. So if we can get the queens off and we have this pawn structure, I think the king is super safe. And our bishop is great. Very active. Is it useful at this moment? I think it's kind of useful. Controlling the right squares. Queenless middle game. We do love a queenless middle game. Although I wouldn't know if this is it a queenless middle game with just a bishop and two rooks? I don't really understand I don't agree that queens off means endgame, essentially, also. But how much material is middle game, right? And on that, I'm going to pop off to the loo quickly, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, we're still having a good thing. What are the considerations? The considerations is that we have like 3 pawn islands, or we have 2 pawn islands. I like this pawn being here because of potential pawn breaks that we can try and get. And she does go for it. best move. It's got to be the best move. I'm actually going to check. Yeah, b takes c3 is marginally better. Obviously, it's a hair's width difference. It's 0.1 better than queen takes c3, but these are the little things you need to keep building. And our queen is well placed on c2. This is also part of the reason why b takes is good. Our queen and bishop are working against c4. The question is what do we do now? Maybe something like king d2 isn't a bad idea. This pawn maybe becomes a little bit weak though. So I don't like king d2 because of bishop h4. Maybe rook f1. I think king d2 would be a drop in evaluation because of this response. But it is us to move, so we can't castle this black, which is great. Also why c takes is really good, because bishop takes h7 is just a threat. She did win last round, Mystery Man. Can you play against me? You can, just not during this stream. We can play off stream, once I finish maybe. Bishop, queen h4, queen h4. My bad. Whoops, you may have heard. I mix my coordinates up all the time. All the time. So, yeah. Okay, what's the deal? Knight d7 is a nice developing move. I would probably continue with that as a plan. I wouldn't mind rook b1. I'm wondering if queen a3 is an idea, but maybe even castles, although it looks very dangerous to do so. Yeah, the engine seems to hate it. I think, yeah, queen b3, we start putting pressure. Probably a bad idea. We also have knight b6. Hello, Drev. Press the button and start the clock. Chief Arbiter. Great quote. Great quote. So rook b1 trying to target a weakness. I don't mind. Maybe we'd actually then go knight f6 because the queen defends. So we don't need to worry too much about it. Engine's not liking some of like the more natural moves. Maybe b6 or b5. The thing is, I'm not a huge fan of b5, but actually we're never going to attack this pawn. We can't push c4 after this. This is also why I kind of like c4 now. Yeah, I'm not sure. Who are we watching? We are watching Adriana. Her handle is in my Twitch chat title. She is a WCM, currently rated 1927 according to the FIDE on chess.com. I'm just going to double check that is the case. No. Absolute lies, by the way. Her FIDE is 2028. I thought so, but Chess.com is saying she's 1927, which is lies. Lies. So you can see her classical ranking, her classical there. So strong player. Strong player. Much stronger than I. But fortunately, I have the engine to assist. You have to sleep now. Good night, the Duck Gang. Sleep well. Enjoy. I am so tired because I was up till 2:30 a.m. last night. I had a coaching session with International Master Kostya Kavutsky, which is great. But also the only time that him, myself, Blood Queen, and Rachel Angel, or Rach Angel, all streamers, we're all going to the tournament in Maya together in Portugal at the end of the month, and he's been doing some coaching sessions with us. So Kostya from Chess Dojo, yes indeed. VOD's on my Twitch if you wanted to watch through. It's calculation, and it's me, Rachel, and Anushka going through some calculation stuff with him. It's also on Chess Dojos if you want his point of view. So go check out Chess Dojo. An ad's about to hit, by the way, guys. I'm not going to snooze it because I'm going to save the snoozes until there's some action. And if an ad pops up when there's something important, then I'll snooze. Ali, welcome in, dude. Next to none. Do you need one unknown name? There's a couple of unknowns that I know about that you guys don't know about for Maya. So that's fun. I've got all the secrets. I just want to make friends IRL with every streamer. That's my game. That's all I want. Yeah, Black. Also, with that in mind, Black may just do something like h6. They can castle. It feels like a bit of a waste of a move because we get the b file. The g file. I do that all the time. Yeah, it is tricky. I wonder if g6 is an idea also. Again, then we start going h4, h5. Ooh, can we take... Like, are there sacrificial ideas in the future? Like, our king is actually really safe with this pawn structure. And I think Adriana really understood this when she went for this line. And there we go. A natural move, an incorrect move. I think we just... Like, I want h4 personally. I want you to advance and create weaknesses. Yes, h4 is kind of weak, I guess. But it stops queen h4 as a move. It then means this pawn could be tender in the future. You would throw Harry at her too. Good. We love throwing Harry. Kingside... So she does want a kingside castle. Maybe I want a queenside castle. Not really yet, but... Okay. Maybe we can go f4, then h4, or... h4, f4. Because f4, essentially, we're trying to push f5. That's what we're trying to do. If you castle, then you've got serious problems. How do we want to do this? And we're just coming in, right? You can see how quickly that attack ramps up. Obviously, I'm playing suboptimal moves for black, but I'm playing natural moves for black. So f4 is a real idea here in prep for h4. Or even just h4, h5, f4. These pawns being on dark squares, not really attacked. The knight isn't in the game. And that is also why I quite like just smashing h4 at her now. Engine doesn't seem to think that is the best move. I'm sure it's probably up there. f4 also not the one. Castles, like, I want to connect my rooks. This is the problem. And I don't really want to castle either way. Because it's not part of the coordination. I've got some coordination here. I want to add to that. I want to add to that. Maybe now is a time for king e2, rook g1. Again, none of my plans are supposedly correct, but I think they're all normal plans. Maybe not castling for a while in order to make one more non-casting move in the short term. That does make sense. So maybe rook b1 to prevent knight development. So one thing that I was like, okay, they want to get this knight developed. Actually, rook b1 stops that. So you might even have to go something like knight a6, which is like disgusting. So rook b1 feels pretty good. Pretty good. So maybe something like b5 then has to be played. And I'm feeling good about this, how these pawns are getting set up, how I've got a light squared bishop to attack them in the future. This knight's going to have trouble getting in the game. I can just blast through with a4, because if you push, we'll just take with the rook. Or the pawn and attack a weakness even. Actually, yeah, this is way better. Because b4 is a problem. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's getting quite hard for black to make a move. And them castling. So rook b1 castles, h4. What are you going to do? What do you want to do? Maybe you just go rook e8. h5. Push f4 takes... no, too risky, too risky. We don't want to give them any counterplay. Do I have a FIDE? I've got a published FIDE rating, yes. It is currently 1780. But I have had in my past kind of 2 tournaments, I've had above 1850 like performance rating. So it is good. h5 for black. What? Rook b1 h5 now? I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I go h4, f4, f5's coming. Or do I just attack the pawn? No. a4. I want a4 to stop b5. But maybe I do just attack the pawn, because then b5, a4. And I'm feeling okay. a6. Kind of annoying, but you will have to take this way. Not sure. Oh no, yeah, we did look at h4 first, h4, h5, and then I thought f4. Because then we're looking for f5. Maybe f5 is a bit committal. Rook b1 still feels like it should be a move. Yeah, it is. We stop knight d7, and this is why I want maybe rook b1 first, because I don't want, like, I want to do this. I want to annoy you as much as physically possible. And this is a prophylaxis. Like, rook b1 is purely prophylaxis. And then we can get a4 in. We can choose h4. We can choose f4. We can choose to move the king. Maybe we even castle. Maybe we even castle. Okay, h4 played. Makes so much sense. Now I wouldn't be surprised with h5. I feel like it's an almost must-play move, personally. Or actually, no, that's a lie. You have the time to play knight d7, and then we go h5. Where do I want this knight? Maybe it stays on d7. Maybe I queenside castles. Danger zone though. Maybe even knight b6. And you know what the actual danger here is? I am threatening to sack if you do not address this tension. So let's just say rook here. This is the problem. Right? So I think h5 is an almost must do response, although we can push g5. I don't necessarily like this though. But this was a good time to spend a little bit of time. 6 minutes on this move. Her opponent just flicking some dust off the board. Getting annoyed by the dirty boards that they've got at the tournament, apparently. No, I joke. I jest. There's always someone like just picking at a board. Bugs the hell out of me. Yeah, h5 feels like the insta response that you can play to this, but you need to have a think and go, do I need to play h5? I personally quite like knight d7. But if someone, you shouldn't really attack on the flank until you've dealt with the center. So for example, h4, what if c5? c5's annoying because we can get the bishop off of this beautiful diagonal. Does that matter? Probably. I don't like my king being in the middle of the board. This is my problem though as well. Can I castle? Is it weird to castle here? Yeah, it is. Maybe my queen can come in. Put pressure. And the thing is, if something like a queen trade, I'm so happy here. I shouldn't because I'm the attacker. Also, if something like a queen trade, I should just take free material. It's a much easier way to go about things. Don't know what you guys think. So c5 is actually a maybe critical try here. Because what you will do is c5. If I take, you damage my pawn structure, which is annoying. I'm trying to figure out how if I can take any advantage. Maybe rook b1 still. I wanted queen a4, knight here, bishop here, push, takes. Also not the way. Then we go h5. Sorry, it allows our plan to start keeps it coming. Yeah, and then that's GG's. Okay, so we have to takes on h5, and our king's still kind of safe. Crazy. I love it when you have a safe king in the center of a board. Happens a lot in the French. Guys, I cannot tell you. I am so excited to be doing commentary, but I've also had 4 hours sleep. I went to bed at 2:30, got up at 4:30. Half 6. Went to work, laboured all day. Came here, started commentary, and I'm gonna nap afterwards. Actually, no, I'm gonna all out sleep afterwards. This is a thinker because of the lack of development Black has. So the reason why, going back, although this looks tempting, You didn't have to take here. I thought knight g5 was a much better try. Because then we're looking to like pick up material. We've created a weakness and we're looking to try and pick it up. And our development just keeps going as black, right? Whereas in this line, you've traded your bishop for the knight for a weakness. You've disappeared your strongest piece. Your two strongest pieces are gone. And I've got pressure in the position to the extent that your development is not going to help itself. And g6 does not help your development. You needed to go knight d7 before I got rook b1 in. Now, that said, I can take here, but that would be 2 pawns for a piece. Which I would be tempted about, but it's just, 'tis not enough. We can't get behind the pawns. Maybe if our pawns were all connected, then there's a shout. If this pawn was here, and we offered a queen trade, like, then I would be really interested in this position. The fact that I do have this weakness. See you, Oscar. A pawn move of h5 would create a half open file for white's king's rook. But yeah, so we've lost all the development as black, and we decide to not develop further. Again, which is a sad move, because you need to develop. We still can't castle. Now we might have to go g6, but at least our knight is out. Right. Our knight is out. Correct. Okay, so h5 played. Makes a lot of sense. But I think black is loose. I have the benefit of having an eval bar here. But pawns on the light squared color complex, my bishop is going to eat them. Eat them all. And you're still not developed. I have another move. I have another move. The question is, what should it be? And this is the tricky bit. Rook b1. Rook g1. I quite like rook g1 to try go rook g5, rook e5. Because f6 is not going to be a possible move. And it's just simple. Like, simple chess. If we push f6, boom. See you later. Sayonara. And that's actually just a really simple plan. Yes, you can do this, but I would, in fact, even be tempted to sack. It probably doesn't do anything. But let's have a quick look. Bishop takes, f takes, queen takes. The king wants to step away, because otherwise we come in with a check and we'll pick up the rook. So the king does step away. And then we get queen d6 check. Still not able to pick up the rook just yet. So knight d7. And I can't quite get rook. Oh, I can. I can play rook g7 because queen h1 check, king up, and I'm threatening mate, so you can't take the rook. So I'm really tempted. This looks really good for me. This is what I calculated. I've obviously missed something in this sequence. But you have to be real careful, real quick. Knight d7 is not the move. You have to move your king, which is brutal. And then it's a perpetual. I can't. Is it? Ah. It is. not that simple. So there is a way to defend because the king can go to c8. So the sack is a bit too much right now. What we can do is probably just the quick castles. And why is this terrible? Because we allow development. We're too weak. So this is a very interesting position. Now, the secondary question is, if the bishop sack doesn't work, does the rook sack do anything? And the answer is no. That would be mate in 2 or 3. And we can't get in. You gotta give it a go. I didn't calculate it. I just put it in the engine to see. But I am kind of a fan of this bishop sack. King to c8 is pretty brutal. Maybe we just go rook to b1 now. We're threatening pawns. b5. Can we go for it now? I think we can. Engine's saying it's not the best, but it's agreeable. If you take, you will be doomed. You will be doomed. So yeah, this is why g6 I was really worried about. Like, I just had feelings about this kind of sacrificial idea. I don't know about how chat feels, but activity over material. Black is playing without 3 pieces currently. They only have a queen in the game. We can afford to sack material if we see a way through, because there's just not enough material to defend. But if they weather the storm, then we can be losing. And that's how a lot of chess works. You attack. I had a sparring game with Rachel. I saw an attack. I wanted to go for it. I saw it was drawing with best play. I went for it. So, Wendy, I'm intrigued because you're talking about chess in like old notation. Queen's Knight half file. Have you been playing chess for a long time? Max material can get active reasonably quickly. I beg to differ. Why are they not playing knight d7? Because they were scared of bishop takes h7 if they castle. Oh wow, we've had 2 moves. And we have king d2. I love it. I do love it. I don't like king d2 because it feels like the f pawn gets weak. I would have actually preferred king e2, I think. I'm intrigued. Rook queen b3 is also an idea actually. Rook b1, rook g1. Yeah, I like the king where it is, weirdly. I know you want to connect the rooks. I went through this process, but I also went through this process with Evalbar, so. You last played chess more than a quarter century ago. That's incredible. That's incredible. And you still follow chess though? You watch a lot of chess, you follow the game, you love to watch it. I like king d2. And then queen f6. Yeah, so this was a little bit of a problem. We don't really want to go rook h3. Kind of weird. We don't really want to go. Maybe we just go king e2 and just say king d2 is a weird idea. King d2 is a bit of a bad idea. Also, I'm just going to check the time they spent. Yeah, okay. h5. Rook b1 stops any of these ideas as well, because we're happy to allow this trade. We can actually take here now. And you just don't have... What? Really? Why is... what check? I think it's because of this check. Well, I can't really do anything. So you have to go here, so there's no checks after you give up the rook. And we defend the pawn. With all sorts of threats. Rook check, king here, rook check, king here. Rook takes. Nice little nuance. The old school terminology is some of the time more advantageous in describing chess situation. Yeah, I suppose it depends what you're used to, but I really like it. Like I like when it's like the queen's knight, the king's bishop, the queen's bishop. Like, I don't know, it feels like more of a story when you talk about chess. Whereas like the open F file makes a lot more sense to me, but that's because I learned notation, modern notation, I should say. Like open G file, open F file, open D file, like I know all of those things. It's like a king's bishop file. It takes me like, okay, so that's the king side, then the bishop square. Whereas like I just know the F file. Easy. It's like more direct. Like F, I know what file that is. I don't have to like go through 2 steps of like king side, look one closest to the king. King side, the one 2 steps away from the king. King side, the rook. It's like a 2-step process with notation, I find, with old notation. But that's also, like I said, I'm not used to it, so I go through that. I go, oh, which side? King side, queen side. And also, when the pieces have moved and they're not on the same files, then yeah, king's bishop, queen's bishop loses some of its ease, in my opinion. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I think this is the problem with king e7. I think we're still in a great position. King d2, sorry. I don't know why I flipped the coordinates in my head. It's so crazy. But maybe king e2 is slightly better. Rook b1, rook g1. We can always defend the pawn. So, example, rook g1, queen f6, king e2. Feels pretty good. And rook b1 just straight attacking a weakness and stopping the knight developing for a move. And actually just, yeah, it's kind of very annoying. Very, very annoying. So yeah, I think this was maybe a small inaccurate. Well, this was inaccurate because we're allowing some form of counterplay, and also the importance of queen on f6 means that we lose a lot of this bishop g6 sacrificial ideas. So yeah. And we've improved the queen. So if we go king e2, we've spent 2 moves to go here when we could have just gone here in the first instance. And we can go here reactively. And that's a hard thing to do in chess. Like, the thing is, if you're going for like a defensive move / setup, sometimes you can just do those things reactively rather than actively. If you catch my meaning. Okay. We've got time though. We're up. We were up a considerable amount of time, so there's time to think about this. I would be tempted to just eat my words and go king e2. I don't like rook h3 personally. But maybe it's okay. Maybe there's a world we can go. No, because this can come in the future. We're feeling pretty good. Okay, what's happening? This is, yeah, very like sacks galore. For example, a nothing move allows bishop takes. If pawn takes, you will lose your queen. Just thinking if I got any better, but no. So kingside castles is still dangerous because we can get rook g1 in, but we need to defend this pawn. Rook h3 might be a way. Something in my gut is not liking rook h3. Maybe we can just go f4. Right? And we opening up all the light squares, our bishop will be able to maneuver around. And we can look at the rook g1, etc. Okay. The thing is with knight d7, now rook b1, we have knight b6. Which could be a little bit annoying. But maybe I go back to like a rook g1 idea. Sacrifices don't work now though. There's a little bit more activity. Pawn to queen's rook 3. Oh no, is that pawn or... Pawn to queen's rook 3, that's so funny. That's crazy. Okay, so move played. F4 was played. Great. I'm happy with that. We retain our position. We don't waste a tempo with our king. We gain some space. We do, however, give some control away from e4, and that would be my objective as black. I will have to spend a lot of time, but I want to get my knight to d7, my knight to f6, and then knight to e4. I would love to be able to push e5 and get knight e4 in. We will severely weaken this pawn, so knight d7, rook b1. I might even go f5. a4 is a little scary, but I will go a6. This is scary because we give them some activity. Very scary, but rook g1 stops castles, I believe. because we have this takes. But maybe they do the same with that we do and move their king out of the way. Or we want to get our queen involved in this attack somehow as well. Very complicated. Pawn to king's bishop 4. Pawn to king's bishop 4. Knight to e5. It's kind of getting a bit tricky for black to find moves. I mean, knight d7 sort of feels like it has to be played, and it has just been played, I've seen. On the board. Both players looking fairly chill. I'm trying to like learn to read Adriana. She's cool, man. She's cool as a cucumber throughout. Cool as a cucumber throughout. You know, so hard person to read. I think there's like some instances. Things I want to quiz her. I want to quiz her on moments that she thought she may have like not blundered, but like missed something, you know, had to come up with a new response to a move she hadn't seen, because I want to start correlating whether like seeing her body language versus how she's actually feeling actually correlates with what I'm seeing. Okay. So. Knight d7. Sorry, guys. I got waylaid. Lots of people messaging me about something vaguely important. So knight d7 played. What are we going for now? How do we attack? Our king feels fairly safe. How do we break open black's position? I like rook b1 as an idea because we're activating our piece. Rook g1 has its own ideas as well, and it's very easy to walk into castles, bishop takes, and we just pick up the house. So rook g1 says you're not allowed to castle. Knight b6, h4, a4. I kind of like. Maybe rook b1 is still the kind of plan, but actually f4. Why not just f4? Because takes and we're opening things up. That said, opening things up doesn't necessarily help us because our king is in the middle, right? But this idea of actually rook g5 and rook e5 is still up there that I should be considering. Okay, so moves played. Rook b1, love to see it. So I would assume knight b6 comes. And then the question is, what is our response to knight b6? f5 can also come, right? Is it still rook g1? And allowing this queen h4? Like, this is always a tricky thing. We're keeping a good lead on the clock. It's still fairly close, but hopefully we can keep some time pressure when it does get lower. 7 minutes can make a difference. So we can say 10 minute, like around 10-minute mark ahead on the clock. Use the time if you need it though. Then we're doing okay. Ideally, this should have come before to restrict knight d7. That's the only difference. That's a little nuance. Like, but I'm loving the coordination of our pieces, and black's pieces aren't really coordinated at all. The only problem that we've created is this f2 pawn in our position is weak, and so queen h4 comes with a little bit more sting. Yeah, Adriana looks so chill. Like, I've never seen anyone look so chill during a chess game. She never, like, I never see her, like, calculation, like, head down, like, I feel like she's just a natural calculator. I could be entirely wrong, but it feels like she's already got things calculated quite well. Our opponent's doing a little bit of, like, is it Mikhail Tal that started this? Who's like loads of famous photos of him like with his thumb like this. So many players do this now as well, where they sit and just like. I personally like head in hands. You look like you're in pain because you are. Calculation is hard. It's a lot of brain power. I think she's fairly comfortable in this position. She's looking around. Paying attention to other things happening in the hall. Her opponent's locked in a bit. Exuding some kind of calm. Fidgeting a bit with the hands. Yawn there. I couldn't tell whether the fidgeting's like nervous energy or boredom. Not boredom, but like just like super chill, knows what's going on, feels very comfortable. I wonder what her plan is on knight b6. So knight b6, a4 doesn't really feel like black has much option. A5 is not possible because we hang the knight. We don't want to like long castle or anything. So after looking at that, that's annoying. So maybe you have to go b6 or b5. b5 might be slightly better because then we're never really attacking this pawn. I'm also wondering at what point f4 might be a good idea. It's probably a terrible idea because how loose our king is. But I like rook g1. We have problems with bishop takes. This is also the thing. We've left f2. That's the thing that we neglected in our position, and that's the thing that can come back to bite us. So, what about f4? Scary. Scary stuff. Wild position. F4 might not be the one. But we can go rook g1 this way. And then we're looking rook g5. We can't go rook e5 because this knight's actually now annoying as well. So maybe a4 was just the idea. The thing is with a4, a6, and if we take, we're just helping black. b6 played. Okay. How about now? Rook g1. c5. Rook g5. Push. Can we sack now? Or can we sack the rook? Not enough. Okay, too much, too much. Okay, let's just move the bishop out of the way. Let's just be smart. I feel like that is a bishop sack. I really do. Just haven't decided how I can sack it yet. So Queen e4. I don't like this. Oh, Queen a8. I like it. Famous last words. I don't like this. Oh no, I really like this. This is great. This is fantastic. Yeah. This is the kind of thing that Adriana sees. Yeah. Rooks and bishops are great. And what's better is it's... Oh no, it's not. There's not a queen here. Actually, no. What is better is that it's a rook and a knight for a bishop. Oh, okay. The king can move. The king can move. Because if queen back, we get the rook and the knight. Oh no, we don't. We don't. I lie. Queen can come back again. Yeah. Okay, love to see it. We've had a couple moves played. They haven't come through on the b6. Okay, rook g1 just played. So, yeah. Okay, she's getting up. She's chilling. Our opponent looks a little agitated. It's getting harder and harder, I think, for black. Our pawn structure is working incredibly well with our light squared bishop. Our rooks are both doing excellent jobs. Our bishop is active and useful. It's putting pressure on this g6 pawn. Potential sacks, so there's definitely no castling. Kingside castling looks like doom. We will definitely want to just probably push a4 in that circumstance. And then we can get swing the rook back to b1 potentially, and all that fun stuff. Okay. Let's have a check-in. This is a thinker. As black, what are your hopes? I would question whether c5 is an idea, because while we're striking on this side of the board, it's probably a good idea to strike in the center, especially as our king is in the middle. So I quite like c5. I've then got to decide what I want to do. I would then probably also just continue with this rook g5, like we looked at. Knight f8? Really? Really? So Oscar's suggesting knight f8. I don't like this. I like that we're supporting c5. So in the event of takes, we can develop our knight with tempi on the bishop. If we trade, we're a bit more cramped. White has a lot more space, so I'm kind of happy to trade this knight for the bishop, especially with how this pawn structure is looking. Knight f8, maybe you're trying to go knight e6, but I don't see it. You're also defending g6, but no. I'm not a fan. Knight f8, crazy to me. To me, the only move that really seems to make sense is c5. Or rook b8. I was vaguely wondering about moving the king to f8. And manually castling. So king f8 or king g or rook g8, but king f8, king g7. f5 comes though. Like, no, we can't put the king over that side. This is a really tough spot. I would actually put the advantage for white a lot higher than the engine gives it. The engine's saying +1. I don't know. I'm thinking like +2 maybe. Can you queenside castles? This is the question. I don't know why I've got Mission Impossible stuck in my head, but it's there. Our time advantage is only going to get better, I think, because it's really hard to find a good plan. Thing is, c5 does pose questions. Rook g5 is definitely the plan, so maybe. We want to protect this pawn. So I understand knight f8. I was actually thinking about, can I get my queen out of the way? But there's so much weakness. It makes it very tricky. Very tricky. Okay. I think also maybe we should have played b5. b5, and then you ask white what you should do, because white doesn't have a breakthrough yet. And b5 cements in a4. And a6. And we don't want to take, we'll leave the tension and say thank you very much for all the tense moments you've given us. And then what? We still go rook g5. And then rook g1, and then we break through. King f8, rook g1. It's hard to make progress, but white is certainly better. Just keeping improving the position is going to be hard, though. That's the thing. I'm liking the clock situation. This is getting better for us as well. b5 is practically the hardest move for white to deal with because we've got to keep finding moves. Well, b5, rook g5. Then what? a6, a4. We keep asking questions. King f8. Like, I think you've just got to keep making waiting moves as black and just keep saying, like, what are you doing? So b5, rook g5, a6. a4, king f8, rook g1. What's the next waiting move for black? Might be 6. Getting a little scary up here. Getting a little bit scary. This check will be annoying. Especially... so we need to keep the bishop here. f4, f5. Only move in the position that really, I think, does anything. Pawn takes. Well, that's not the move. If rook takes is the move, that's kind of insane. Yeah, it isn't. Okay, cool. Maybe we just go rook b1 now, and we control the b file. Okay, salmon. Ugh. Taking here is like, of course, f2 hangs. This was the problem. This is the one move that's kind of screwing up our position for us. Not screwing it up, but could potentially screw it up. And the move played? Not played yet. 29 minutes on the clock to 46. We're coming up to a 20-minute time advantage. You know you're in a bad spot when you're in a position like this, and it's really hard to. This is the first time her opponent's looking around. I think her opponent is not happy with that position. Their body language seems different to usual, like in terms of them trying to calculate through things. I think she might actually be a little bit concerned and have a realization that her position's bad, but I don't think it's as bad as she thinks it is. So yeah, she doesn't look, she looks calm but not happy. As before she was leaning in a lot. Now I think she's a little bit worried about the position. Okay, she's back in. She's leaning back in, giving it another shot. I'll recenter the board. Everything kind of spells trouble, and b5 is a hard move to see if you didn't see it the first time round. Okay, so b5, a4. a6. d5, king f8. k1. We're threatening takes and takes. King up. So we don't necessarily have to have this addition. Maybe this is a little scary, but because we can never take because of this check. Knight f8, king e2. We can play king e2. We can finally get this king to e2, and now we're really considering what's going on. And maybe even instead of, we should just play rook g1 instead of rook a1. King up does not work. Yeah, ouch. Getting painful. Delayed Bond Cloud. Yeah, well, sort of like some extended Bond Cloud, like the decelerated Bond Cloud, I would call this, because we went king d2, king e2. So, is there any opening called the decelerated dragon? You know, where it takes 7 moves to actually do what you need. Yeah, this is looking pretty dire. "25 minutes on the clock. Deferred. The deferred Bond Cloud. And here we see the deferred Bond Cloud. And here we see. I need to listen to some David Attenborough. That man. Satan's Bond Cloud. Okay. The amount of time she's spending here really does show the amount of trouble that the position is causing in terms of restriction. Everything in this, every move in this position is fairly restricted, apart from b5, essentially. This is a very good lesson for me to not push g6 too early in the Queen's Gambit declined, or not at all. I'm open to it being pushed, but obviously it was much better to not push g6 instantly with the Queen and Bishop on the c2 to d3 diagonal. There are so many issues. And also not doubling those pawns for the sake of doubling pawns. Okay. That's a sad move to make, rook g8. We still follow up with rook g5, I'm fairly sure. Hopefully, and the thing is, when you have an imbalance in time like this, the deficit gets worse because you can think on your opponent's time. So when your opponent spends 20 minutes on a position, you've got 20 minutes to think about what their response is and what your response to their response is. You might be wrong in what they play. You might calculate something that was better or worse or just different. And so that time could be wasted. But you can get a sense of what move you want to play and what you think your best move is. And the likelihood is that move might be playable in a few different scenarios. So you've got something in your back pocket. Rook g5 feels like a solid plan. We want to double the rooks. If the queen moves at all, then we also just double the rooks, and there's not enough time. Knight f8 probably follows up after that. So rook g5, knight f8, rook g1. Long castles, f5, big problem. And we're just sort of breaking through. We will need to slap in king e2 though at some point. That is almost guaranteed. But as our opponent's time gets lower, it's going to become more problematic for them. And we can spend our time finding the best move on their time and spend a little bit less time on our time than we needed to. Because we can just use theirs. Using the clock as a weapon in chess is such a skill. And so if we can retain this time imbalance in 20 minutes from now, when we both use 20 more minutes, they'll have 4 minutes and we'll have 24 minutes. That is a huge imbalance. That's you playing a blitz game against my rapid game. That said, you can gain time very quickly because the increment is 30 seconds. Boom, rook g5 on the board. Love to see it. Easy, clap. Played quickly. So if we're looking at the time usage, our opponent just spent 16 minutes to play a really passive defensive move, which is suboptimal. We just spent 2 minutes smashing out our response. During that 16 minutes that they spent, we probably spent about 6 minutes of calculation time. Maybe some time stretching, maybe another 6 minutes of like looking at other moves, candidates, what they can move. And we'll just keep it going, keep it rolling, you know? They see me rolling, hating, controlling. I've had many songs stuck in my head today. And again, what is the move? Long castles is scary. b5 is the only kind of waiting move, really. And then we have f4 or king e2 or rook d1. So b5, you can play king e2. We've got all the time in the world. We don't really want to go a5 because a4 is annoying. 5 a4 push takes. We'll leave the tension. And like all of our pieces are just doing things. Quite nice. Yeah, we need to, with the king e2 is I think some really important for this f5 move. This is the move. This is the move. And we're there. It's hard to convert these things. We do see long castles. I just think let's just ramp it up with a4, no? Bishop a6 was slightly tempting in my view, but it doesn't really do much. Although bishop h6, king b8, a4, c5, too much. I just like a simple a4. You're going to castle that side, I'm going to throw pawns at you. Maybe we can continue with our just rook g1, king b8. You cannot play c5, d4 hangs. Aha. You are correct. d5 hangs, yeah. Maybe we can just continue with our current plan, f5. Oof, yeah. I like that for me. Rook g1. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. It's very bold, the castle, but you need to develop. So fair. But I think we just need to attack. Attack! Can I reach 2k rapid rating this month? I probably can because I'm doing a lot of training and I haven't actually played any rapid in a long time. So maybe when I'm well rested, I'll have a bit of a rapid session. See if I can get it to 2k. That'll be the dream. Because a lot of training has been put in this month for the tournament. It is different to rapid though, so we'll see. I feel like I should be around there. Should be able to make it. I'm not too worried about it though. I don't want that to take priority over my training. You can be my punching bag and we'll reach 2k. Let's be honest, that's not happening. You say that, you know, there's still work to be done. The first time, as soon as I break it, I'll just keep in it. Like same with 1900. As soon as I broke 1900, if I ever dipped out of it, I was straight back in. I haven't tanked back to like low 1800s or 1700s. I think I tanked to like 1860 one day because I was like up at like 2 a.m. Like, and I just wanted to play some rapid, play a few games, tanked it. Next day, straight back up to like 1920. So yeah, I feel fairly confident in the rapid ability. When I first hit 1900, I wasn't playing much. I was playing like 1 or 2 games a week, just consistently when I felt good and felt like I could play a good game. And that really changed it, but also made me think my baseline was terrible. But then I started blitzing out some rapid and I was staying there, so that was good. That was good. Okay, so what options do we have? c4 is kind of interesting. We're trying to create more threats up and about. That wouldn't be so good for us. I might just start with my a4 now. c4 is an interesting one. I wonder if bishop takes makes much difference. Yeah, I think it does. Because we pin the pawn. Okay, we're spending a bit of time here. It probably is worth spending time. We are way ahead on the clock, so we can. It would still nice to keep the time advantage, but our opponent will be thinking on our time. Candidates, a4, c4, rook b1 again. I like c4 because we're also trying to create some clearance for this rook to swing over in the future. Bishop a6 check as well. Yeah. Ooh, this would be prime for c4. Wow. Still, you know, you've got to convert this, right? There is still a whole game to play. And the time imbalance is something that's really important to keep hold of in a situation like this, because there is still a lot on the board. Material is equal, despite it being a much better game for white. That also means there's a big there's a big potential to just for it to all calm down back to equal. Because converting a one position takes a lot of understanding, because you've got to understand that you are winning. And this isn't a winning position, it is a much better position. 1.6, according to the eval bar. That doesn't really mean too much in human terms, though. I specifically have an incredible ability to draw or win games where I'm 4 points down. Not so much in classical, but it has happened. I was -5 in or more in 2 classical games and managed to claw it back to a win and a draw. One of them I was actually winning, but low on time. a4 is on the board. Really simple approach. I love it. a4. Nice and easy. We're going to break in. We're going to case out the house. We've done all the hard work. We've cased the joint. We've seen who's going to be in, who's in bed, who's taking guard. And now we're just going to smash through the front door. Or the back door, because we're queenside. I don't know. I don't know which door it is, but we're smashing through. Maybe it's a wall. You know what? This is a bit of a wall. If you try and sort of shore it up, this is not so good. We're going to come through again. And we're going to keep knocking. and knocking. And knocking. This is a threat, so... wait, we're coming in. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Don't worry, I will not give up. Well, I don't have a day job, so I will not give up the job. Let's knock on some doors. That's what I want to see. at a 15-minute time advantage still on the clock. If our opponent spends another 10 minutes, suddenly they're on 10 minutes. And they've got to defend like a lion. Or like a lioness. I think they're way more aggressive. Lions are lazy. What other options do we have? Maybe we bring the queen in to defend. I quite like c4 though as the follow-up move. Yes, please. Also looks pretty juicy. Okay. It's hard to keep finding moves. Does not do anything. I don't know. I don't like this for black. Knight f8 played. Wow. Wowee. She came in through the bathroom window. Yep. This is straight for the bathroom window. The knight was in shock. Now c4 feels really good to me. We want to open a line to the king. 5 takes. We're feeling great. We're feeling great. What is knight f8 doing? Trying to get to e6. Do we care about e6? Do we play now we play f5. This is hated by the engine, but we're restricting the knight. And we leave the tension. No, okay. Okay, maybe I just go c4 anyway. Oh, because knight e6 takes with check. This is bold, man. Queen d6. Actually, queen d6. Rook d1. If queen takes, then we come in like so. Well, there's always opportunities for errors. I mean, I'm just pushing wood at this point in time. Knight e6 feels like an annoying move. I wouldn't be surprised if f5 does come. c4 was a hard one to play here. Maybe I can get away with a5, but I think b5 is then quite an easy move to find. And b5 is not an easy move to find while we have a4 on the board. What about like rook b1, knight e6, bishop a6? Yeah, I'm running out of steam. Engine doesn't like knight f8. Practically a little bit annoying. Ah, okay. I have another idea that loses pretty instantly, so I'm not going to play it. Rook e5. There we go. Oh, that's a blunder. I mouse slipped. Yeah, I don't know here. I don't know what I need to do. But maybe a c4 96 and then I just pop the rook back. Oh no, I can't. There's some knight takes problems. Really? I thought this... Ah, no. Okay, you can go here. I see, I see. Knight f8. Annoying to deal with. Annoying to deal with. Oh, I know what we should play. Bishop f5. Oh, whoopsies. Does this solve problems? Or do we just move the king? Just move the king. Bishop f5 might be played. It feels like a tactical shot that stops knight e6. But we can still play f5. I kind of like f5. I've also got rook g1, knight e6, bishop f5 as an idea. That's kind of tricky. Bishop f5 is like a move that's going to make our opponent think at any rate. But does it actually do anything? Not really. Not really. Our bishop's a really strong piece. We don't want to give it up. I mean, we can go rook back to b1, knight e6, rook g1. Black makes progress, though. F5 is the most logical move. I've just turned on the engine, so we have F5, C4, and King E2 as options. All of these are part thematic, and we were thinking about playing all of these moves earlier. They still very much apply. F5, I think, is the most logical to stop this knight move. C4, CD5, knight takes. HG5, queen d6. And we just say we're better in this endgame, down an exchange. Which, fair enough. King c7. Bishop c4. I'd be tempted to do this like this, to be honest, if I was black. But that's a hard thing to do, going to an endgame down an exchange. Which is the best line with c4. f5 though does keep our advantage. We do need king e2 in. It's not so simple. Now we're getting into a bit of like quite a bit of nuance, I think. The exchange line is crazy to me. It may not be crazy to Adriana though. It might not be crazy to her. Our time is ticking down also. We want to keep that edge on the clock, but this is critical. We've got a bunch of moves. Two of them I think are quite hard to see. King e2 I think is a really weird one to play now. F5 most logical. C4 completely findable and seeable. The evaluation at the end of the line I think it's hard. Don't know about you guys. Right, I'm gonna get some water. Okay. We're still having a good think. I'd also like to point out I grew a tomato. I got a tomato plant. This is the second tomato that it has yielded. Just a little salad tomato, but so satisfying. Yeah, Adriana is the most chill calculator. Never any like head in hands. She's just there like having a look, like just browsing the position. Just absorbing it into her straight through the eye holes. Okay. I feel like F5 will be played. The hard thing about this is our time advantage is dwindling. I have also said this time and time again, but Adriana, when I say one move and she'll play like the better move, and it will be like an exchange sack or something, she is completely fine with creating and playing with the imbalance. Hello, Universal Pizza World. Knight F8 is disconnected Black's rooks. That is true, but I don't know how we can take advantage of that just yet. No worries, Universal Pizza World. I'm sorry that I was late replying to your message by about 8 minutes. The fact that she is spending time, I feel like, means that she is possibly calculating c4. I'm trying to look at where she's looking on the board. It looks like more towards the rook and the rook file. She's going to grab a sip of water, I think, which is a good play. So she doesn't make anything rash decisions. She's got good time. At worst, she can start being even in time management with her opponent. Oh, rook g5. I'm sorry, rook e5. Engine's marking that with a miss. Meh. I don't think so. It's an improving move. The one thing I was wondering after knight d7, we go back to rook. We sort of have to go rook back here, I feel like. I think any other option... I mean, unless she's thinking about allowing this. She could be. But I think knight goes back to d7, well, from whence it came, right? And then we may repeat moves. That's a long time to think rook e5. I'm going to check her opponent's FIDE actually as well. Her opponent's FIDE is 1830. So these chess.com ratings are slightly off. I would probably go knight d7 in a heartbeat. And try and repeat. So I thought that long and went rook e5. I don't feel like I see it. I would say it's like we don't see anything better. Oh, hey, Dabo. I technically won the game between me and Blood Queen, but I didn't really. She screwed up some kind of move thing on her physical board. I don't know really, but yeah. It was an interesting game. I have a lot of ideas of where I went wrong. That's for sure. I think out the opening, I was actually had a really good opening. I didn't like it at the time, but the more I look at it now, I'm like, actually, I think I was better out of the opening. And then playing the subduing the rest of the game was interesting. I was trying to be too tactical rather than thinking, okay, she's gone knight d7. Rook g5 is an insta hit. And then the question is will we repeat moves? I hope not. But it is hard to see progress. I had a beautiful attack. I think it was getting there, but not really. But that's the thing with a Najdorf. If I think I did, to be honest, out of the opening, and then what did I allow is the question. But I need to analyze the game. I seriously need to analyze it. We're gonna see if we can analyze with David or Kostya next week or the week after. Adria. She is doing fairly well. What I am worried about right now in this position for her is they have just... she played rook e5 and knight d7 was played, which I think is fair. On rook g5, knight f8 will get played again. I'm worried that she's going to repeat moves despite being a good chunk better in this position. The lines are quite hard to see. Ooh, I would love that, Tabo. Thank you so much. Okay. So she doesn't opt to play rook g5 straight away. She plays bishop a6 first. So she's seen something. King b8 would make sense. And then I think we have to play rook g5 again. In which case, knight f8. She might be thinking of things like c4 here. But knight e6 again. Maybe something she's looking at like this. I mean, it might transpose to a similar, but I don't think she needed this bishop a6 idea. So bishop a6 played, and we have just seen king c7. Wow, which is crazy to me, because we're on the same file still. So rook g5 makes a lot of sense. Weirdly, I mean, this feels scary for black. But knight f8, I think, is coming again. But then c4. Now knight e6 has maybe some problems, right? d6, maybe not. You've got to know you're better down the exchange. Which is kind of hard. This is tough. Do you struggle to reaching 2kchess.com rapid? I haven't struggled because I haven't really given it a shot yet. But I will be trying it for sure. I think I've been 1960. I think that might be my peak. But again, I haven't played rapid in a long time, and I'm definitely a stronger chess player than I was than when I last played. So I have a feeling I'll break the 2k in not too long. Okay, knight f8. We need king e2. I am FIDE rated 2, yes. Currently, I am 1770, but I just gained 100 elo from a single tournament, so I'm hoping to gain another chunk of elo in my next tournament. But we will see. Well, technically 92 elo. I gained, not 100, just under 100. I was winning the last game against the top seed in the under 1900s, and then I blundered a fork at the end. So that unfortunately put me under the 100 point rating mark. I would have gained a whole bunch of rating for beating him. Standard play. I don't have a FIDE rapid, I don't think. Thanks for the summary. Sorry. As with every chess player, you know, you need to justify your rating. And justify that you are underrated. I don't know. I think I'm a tiny bit underrated. Not hugely, but I think there's a few more points to gain, and then I'll be in my plateau, happily. All right. Knight f8. Again, the same kind of moves need to be applied. So we need c4. King e2. The only difference is bishop d3 is apparently a move now. and c4 allowing the exchange because we gain 2 pawns for it. I don't know whether I should play queen takes or d takes. Standard is anything above 1 hour. So there's no actual standard time control in chess. Different tournaments have different time controls. I've played a range of rated games from 60 plus 30 to 90 plus 30 to 75 plus 15 in the London League. And then also 90 plus 30, or 1 hour 40 plus 30 seconds. And then you get another hour's extra time when you hit 40 moves as well. So you get an extra hour in the end game. So yeah, loads of different time controls. Some of my longest games have been like 7 hours, just under 7 hours at the board. Chess is brutal. Oh, summary of the game. Lol. Yeah. Well, okay. Quick summary of the game as a total. Queen's Gambit declined position. Normal kind of opening stuff. Knight e4 until knight e4, which is a tiny bit early, but fine. Played well, and got this position, which is actually doing pretty good for white, especially when black takes the knight. The pawn structure looks scary, but the king is really safe. I think the only mistake, black's then proceeded to make mistakes with g6. It allows us to start pushing and attacking, creating hooks. And here we play king d2, which is, I think, the only kind of the biggest mistake for us, because if this f pawn is protected, we had a lot more freedom, and we didn't need to move the king out of the way just yet. Rook b1 would have been fine. But yeah, so king d2, and it's instantly one of the reasons why king e2 would probably been slightly better, and things like that. So a bit of a waste of tempo, but it's fine. We've still got a great position. Cycling through, we get to kind of where we are now. Annoyingly, one of the key moves in the position is king e2, so we did waste a move, and we might have to waste another move. Or we might have to waste a move to defend it, but this is where we are. So where I was worried was after castles, a4, knight f8, rook e5, we might get a repetition of moves, because finding the way forward is a case of, and even in this position, c4, allowing the exchange sack, because we get 2 pawns for it. And we're actually doing okay, but it's tricky. Oh, so move just played. King c1, huh? I don't get king c1. I imagine that king e2 is a scary move because it feels like we're on file, but you can't really take advantage of it, which is really nice for us. Oh, well, that said, actually, there are potential tactics. With knight takes here, so you do want to be careful. But king c1, interesting choice. I think we're just going to bring the king round. This could be a long game. Black is now untangling a bit. Their king is fairly safe. c4 is going to be a good move for us. c4, c5, I think, is also problematic, though. So actually, this could start being tricky, because if we were to play c4... sorry, we need to move our rook first. I don't know, let's go rook e5 again. Yeah, now we really don't want to play c4 because we can open up a file to us. Oh, and we lose a bishop. Duh. Yeah, our plans have to start changing with king c1. But we do get rook e5 back in, but then the queen's going to move. f5 comes, and it gets a little scary. Or f6. Yeah. Rook or queen, rook or queen. I kind of like queen, but I don't like rook g2, so I'm going to play rook here to guard. And maybe there's something like this in the future. It's a hard position, man. This is a really hard position to deal with. Both sides, for both sides, I think. I think black, in some ways, is much more limited in what they can do. So in some ways, it's easier to defend in a position like this than it is to attack. Because finding the way to break things open is going to be hard. Going to be very hard. Okay. Also, our time has now flipped. We had a 20-minute time advantage not too long ago, and now we're in a 5-minute deficit. So we need to be really careful on that front, and that can come back to bite us. Okay, rook g2. It makes sense. Our bishop was well placed on d3. I'm not sure how much it is doing here. So I would be tempted to bring it back. Rook g1 and like reignite some of these threats that I wanted. If at all possible. It feels kind of hard. I don't like king c1 because I want c4. Like I c4 feels like the play in this type of position, but not with the king on c1. Eval's now in black's favor, which is still tricky. The knight is much better placed, that's for sure. But if we get rook g1, we're then threatening f5. So maybe that would be the plan. Our next move might be rook hg1 to try and push f5. Black can probably just go rook e8 now though, and then that's not really a problem. So something like rook e8, I'm fairly happy with. Rook g1 and yeah. Still hard for both sides, I think, to figure out a clean plan. But you just need to improve until your pieces are ready and to make the break. Oh, I saw her reach out. She almost picked up the knight. She almost picked up the knight. Is she going to go knight g7 and to go knight c... Yeah. So knight g7 to go knight f5, which I don't think is right at all. Because then if we go bishop d3, knight f5, bishop takes pawn takes, rook g1. The queen, the h4 pawn is hanging though. So bishop d3, yeah. Feels like an easy move to make. And she plays it. There we go. Now our coordination's back to where it kind of should be. We could have had this position if we just didn't go bishop a6, I think. And we would have been a tempi up, so we might have been able to... Our move here might have been like rook g1, which is very limiting. But then queen takes h4 is annoying. The king on c1 as well, yeah. So the thing with king c1 is that f2 pawn is now defended, so we can probably play bishop takes knight. Pawn takes, rook g1, rook takes, queen takes h4, and then we'll play queen takes f5 as a sequence. That would feel like it's okay for us. And what's the tactic? Obviously not okay for us. Okay. She does take. Maybe her plan is pawn takes f3. I don't know. I quite like g takes. Oh, we have rook g5, I guess. We have rook g5. Ooh. Huh. It's going to be a hard one to come out with an advantage. Rook g5 is a find. It's a good find. Oh, okay. She's had enough of suffering. But I kind of like this from white, because I will go rook g1. But I suppose, like we had rook g5. Wait, what? What just happened? Okay, yeah. Rook g5 played, rook takes. H takes or f takes? You can't get in to defend the pawn, so I think you've got to go f takes. There is counterplay on this side of the board. That's a hard thing to switch up, though. We're just going to come in and attack. This is our game plan. We have this. Rook takes f4 is losing? Oh, because the passes and we can't create a passer. Wow. Wow. Okay. H takes and rook across. Yeah, we're never going to be able to do anything with this pawn, and we need to stop these pawns. So we definitely need... and that's a tempo that's disappeared. But I get it. I don't know. I think after b5, that feels pretty painful, though. There's only 2 moves that draw. Well, don't retain a drawing odds, but okay. Yeah, this is weird. I don't know why King D2. I really don't know why King D2. Okay, F3. And we're going to try and chip away. Okay. This is why F3 is important, because F3, let's say we go B5. Takes here. Takes here. We're going to push these guys through. And that's really hard to see in low time. She might go King C2. Or King D3. King D3, King up, F3. Sorry, we need F3. King here, F3. Takes. King E5. This is pure calculation. No worries, Dabo. If you find it, let me know. Thank you for looking, though. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. Okay. So we do see F3. Good. E4, AB5. A5 is maybe not the one. So AB5 or E4 are giving white some odds. King D3 is apparently the move. This is scary though. I mean, we've got enough time, and our king is active enough that we can cause a lot of problems. F5. F5 is the move. What? No, it's us F5. Rook C8. F. Apparently F6 is a move, but I don't understand why. Wow. I think F6, rook takes, G6. Oh wow, this is why. Coordination. Oh, this is so tough. This is all very scary. As white, I'd be very scared of losing this. Hey, Owen. Hey, mystery man. Whew, this game has sort of equalized out. So E4, great move, practically annoying. BA4 feels like it doesn't work. E takes F5, and we're sort of got the triple stack of doom, and feels like we might be pushing through. I mean, this is crazy. Rook G8. A3. Wow. Yeah, we need to be very, very careful about how our pawns push through. This is kind of draw though, yeah. Kind of hard though, right? Kind of draw, but easy to slip. Easy to slip. Okay, takes. We will see F takes for sure. And she's played it. It's coming through on the DGT about now. There we go. E takes. They both gain a little bit of time in those trades. And then what? We can leave the pawn on A4. I quite like that in principle. King E3 feels kind of nice. I like king e3. So essentially, if they ever take on a4, I feel like this aids us in some ways because this is hard to attack, and the thing is, f5 is not the one apparently. Wow, apparently rook g8, king e4, rook takes, king e5. Rook takes h5, a3, c4. Oh, moves are coming in on the board. Okay, king e3 takes. Yeah, so we are seeing what we were just playing through. And this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. King takes e4 makes sense. It's going to be hard. You need to play rook g8 when f5 comes. So you want to push this pawn first and then push this pawn so you can push this pawn. So that you've got sort of a lot of moves to do. So f5, rook h5, king f4, a3. This is the worrying thing. And f6 is a move. King g4 is also a move. h8, g6, takes. a2 just surely can't be the one. We just keep marching. It feels a little bit too scary, right? Losers. g7. Of course, g7. Promote. Oh, wow. This is actual nuts. Do we take on a1? Oh yeah, of course, because we promote. Duh. Wow. That's kind of really tough. This is so hard to see in such low time. There are tactics for white more than there are for black because we can march our king in a lot, and it's just going to be tricky. But also we've got to commit to king takes e4 in that scenario. And rook b1 check maybe. King takes e4. There we go. She's good, man. She is really, really good. Class player. I'm not surprised by it anymore. Alrighty. I can't tell where the chances are, but apparently h4. So I'm putting the engine on for this endgame because there's no time to figure it out. Apparently h4 is the drawing move, and then everything else gives a slight edge for white, which I'm there for. But any move could just throw it into draw or loss. Yeah. Now, our pawn structure is slightly better, technically. This is a rook endgame. Queen versus rook endgames. You think they're going to promote? H4 is played, best move. And now we want f5 or king e5. Or king f5. I think f5 might come. And then we need... Oh no, king f5. Fair enough. h3 is needed. King f6. And if you play h2, then you've got problems. Oh, no, we take here. Of course. And it doesn't matter that you're going to promote because we're going to zoom up. So I actually, yeah, love this. She's actually just gunning for the pawn. Very practically straightforward to king f5. And you have to try and protect. Like with rook h7. Oh. Can we get away with king g4? Pawn push, rook takes, king takes, pawn push, push, promote, push. Oh my god. No, surely. How does that work? Okay, so... oh wow. Okay, I think this is now an easy enough win because rook h7, we go f5. a3 here. Yeah, this is it. This is it. She's got it. Big king mistake. I'm not sure what that king move was for. But that's a big miss because on rook h7, I know we can't attack the rook, but we just have f5. I think a big sigh of relief there. A really well fought game. Adriana has been better throughout. Outplaying her opponent in this endgame, insane. But she had the right plan and she gunned for it. And actually, it was a fine line for each of them to tread. Okay, I'm expecting to see f5. And you gotta stay cool, calm, collected. And we'll just pick up the pawn. a3. Or maybe this is where like rook b8 would be better. Pick up the pawn. a3. a2. Rook a1. f5 played. There we go. Easy job. Oh, wow. What a fight. You don't get how this is a draw. Because I think you just... Black's plan should just be to keep... or rook h7 now, probably. Do we just keep going a3? Okay. I don't know. Ooh, scary. I don't think luckily. I think it's very skilled ending. Remember, they don't have the eval. So, Adriana, from every game that I've commentated, has an incredible vision and calculation for these kind of things. So I wouldn't say luckily nice. I would say this was calculated. Yes, the engine might have reputations for a lot of things. The engine has reputations for all of our play. So I wouldn't categorize it as that at all, Owen. I think this is an ending of outplaying your opponent. What move number are they on? 38. And again, I think her opponent tends to spend a lot of time when they realize that they are in trouble, as we all do. But not so much time on moves that they think are critical. They've spent more time on the damage control, again, which is kind of natural, but they could have spent more time on some critical moves. Okay, so h3 comes. This is not the best play, but we're just gonna go g6, fg6. Sorry, not king g6, fg6. Kicking the rook back, and we just keep plowing on. So we can go rook h8, king f7. g6 has come. I think she was about to move to rook. She's debating. I mean, this is not a move you debate. g6 comes. You have to meet that with fg6 as. I mean, you can move the rook, I guess, but the promotion's coming. You are not going to be in time. Rook h8. Rook h4, maybe even. Rook h4 is interesting to try and get behind the pawn, but yeah, rook h4 is probably a best try. But we'll go king g5, rook h8, g7, and then we're in, like so. Yeah, I think I don't think she saw all of it, but she definitely was spending enough time on each move that she definitely had calculated a chunk of it for sure. You can never calculate everything, especially when you're low on time. But this was her plan. She thought she could get an active king. She thought this was her best opportunity. Okay, now we just go g7. g7, rook d6, king f7, rook f6 check, king g8. Rook d8 check, king h7, rook d7, and then we probably take on h3 or something to that effect. Get the rook behind the pawn. And I think this is fair enough. a3, king h8. And the king's too far away to protect this pawn. And we got doubled pawns as well. So I think we're going to see this. Oh yeah, we just see the rook d6 check. That's come in. Instantly, we'll play king f7. And actually, we don't even need to take on h3. I can go king h8 after this sequence. And we see rook d7 check. King g8. Oh, okay. Same. King g8, king g6. Maybe king g6 is better than king g8. Yeah, it is. Because we can always push. That's nice. She's so much better than me. And here we go. We may see resignation here. a3, rook takes a3, a2, rook h1. And that is all she wrote. Let's go. But a well-fought game. We had the advantage throughout, gave up the advantage, and then won in the endgame. a3 played. And now we can just promote. We can go g8 queen. Rook takes, king takes, a2, rook a1, h1, and king f7, c4. Kind of nice. d5 takes. d7, king b2. Wow, this is actually still scary, kind of. Whoa, this is no, this is you have to queen, like. This is hard to play, so you do have to be careful. a3, so let's just take rook takes h3, a2. I like this. There's no rush. If we maybe we can just wow, this is actually nuts. Like there's still potential. There is still potential. Rook takes a3 is quite simple to calculate, though. That this isn't going to be a thing. Whereas anything else we do? I mean, can we do this? No. I just hope she plays rook h3. Whew. I don't want to Donna have jinxed this. Well, rook takes h3 is simple. a2 is no threat. Rook h1. Well, I say simple. I mean, it's once you see it, it feels kind of simple that there's no threats. Whereas if you promote, rook takes, king takes, a2. King down, king down, king down. Like, maybe we go c4. So it is possible. a2. d4. Here, king here, here. Ah, but we can take rook takes h3 with check. That's very important. That's hugely important. So that is also fine. That's actually kind of simple, but she plays rook takes h3. No nonsense, no mess. Love it. She did spend the time calculating. So this is round 2, and I'm fairly confident in saying that she will now pick this up, and she will be on 2 out of 2 so far in the tournament, which is fantastic. a2, rook h1, rook b8, rook a1, rook b1, rook takes a1. Or even rook b8, we queen. Rook b1, and then we check on f7, and then we can actually pick up a1, although we'd lose our rook, but yeah. Okay, we queen now. g8 equals queen or rook a1. Either or. I am a fan of g8 equals queen. Rook takes, I take, king steps up, rook a1, king steps across, rook takes, king steps here, takes, king takes, and then I think we're okay. But still fighting, worth always fighting. Rook a1 feels kind of simple. There's no need to rush, and we take care of any of these kind of problems. And she plays it. Pro. She's a pro. We might see a resignation. Quick look up. Maybe something happened. They both glanced over at something. Okay, still having a think. All right, king b5. g8 equals queen, or rook takes a2. All fine. We can play rook takes a2, rook d7, king h8. Rook takes g7, king takes g7, king up. I mean, rook a7, king takes, and rook here. And we're just picking it all up. I think this is what we will see. And now rook c7. I would have thought. We do need to be careful because rook takes d4 can pick up the promotion. So I think g8 equals queen. We can just go g8 equals queen, can't we? Just playing through some stuff. But we do see rook c7, rook d4. If we play g8 equals queen, rook h4, g7, rook check, king f7, rook takes, king takes, and we will just pick up the pawn. We're too far away. So I was worried about this rook d4 to get the queen, but it doesn't matter, we're still up a rook. We are still up all the material. Yeah, no, she outplayed her opponent. I think she had a really good plan in the endgame, and her opponent didn't meet the plan. And we see resignation. Unfortunate, really good fight. Her opponent was in a tricky spot, managed to sort of get it back a bit, but then the end game was the way. Great, good job, good job. All right, I think. Oh, hi, Stanlord, if you're still there. Adriana is 2038. And her opponent is 1830. FIDE, classical. Hey, Planet Al. Clap, easy clap. I think we'll be looking for someone to raid. I might need to dash off. They're having a little bit of a post-mortem. I think they're talking about 96, rook e5. The position was complicated. And yeah, I think our opponent, you know, was in a tough spot for the whole game pretty much, so maybe doesn't really want to talk too deep about it, but yeah. Great. Good job. Okay, she's gonna join. Okay, we'll get her in. Just checking my OBS is set up. Should be there. Matt. Well, a lot of lip reading. I wish I could lip read. That's a really cool skill. I might even try and learn lip reading. We're just waiting for her to hop back in. Unless she's trying to Discord me, in which case that won't work. I doubt it. I think she'll hop on Zoom, but let me open Discord just in case.
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey! Well done. That was a really nice game for the most part as well. You were like crushing it out of the opening. Allowing the double pawns and stuff was really strong.
But did I mess up later?
A little bit. It got tricky with knight f8. The engine is still giving you like a really great advantage. Like I think about like +2 on knight f8. And rook e5 wasn't the, like weirdly actually the engine quite likes you giving up the exchange even. Which is kind of crazy. So on knight f8, I think the general ideas were c4 or king e2.
I was thinking of that, but I was like so scared of it.
Or f5. So f5 sort of holds away.
I also thought about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I thought f5 was like logical because that was my gut instinct as well. I was like, well, f5, but the problem is the king's on d2. So I think the worst move you made in terms of like the position and what made it a bit harder was like king d2. Even though I think it's like a slight inaccuracy, but actually I think if your king was on e2 when the knight's on f8, you can play c4. You can like you don't have to worry about the f2 pawn.
Actually, I was regretting my entire life.
yeah. And that was it. Like, because I think that actually made it a lot trickier for you to play. So that was like for me the moves that like, although the engine might not label it like strictly worse. Actually, to be honest, I think the engine wanted rook b1, in which I think makes sense as well because rook b1 stops the development of her knight.
Yeah, I also thought about it, but I don't know why did I dismiss it.
Yeah. So like I think rook b1 instead of moving the king, because you can move the king kind of reactively, I think, which is like not really intuitive and you want to connect your rooks, but rook b1 and you can't go knight d7. And I think like that's the main idea.
And was the end game accurate, or it was a mess?
Your end game was really good because you chose a plan and she didn't find the counter plan. Like it was draws, suppose like well it was zeros, but I think okay, rook e5, bishop a6 check wasn't necessary. I thought you might repeat moves because your bishop wants to be on d3 kind of anyway, and you pulled it back. King c1 was also weird.
Yeah, I did it. I don't remember what exactly I was thinking about. Like, I wanted to protect my f2 pawn with my queen.
Yeah. But then you line up your queen on like that file, so you can't push like c4 as a break and things.
Yeah, it was kind of an overwhelming position because like I had a lot of ideas and I just didn't know which one to follow.
Yeah. I was saying this because I was like, it's actually really hard to find like a good plan and like and also the reason why f5 like f5 feels like a move to stop knight e6, but the f2 pawn is like a constant problem. Like
like I'm glad I managed like my time very well in the opening because then like the position was crazy difficult to to handle. But well,
So the only thing in the end game straight after the queens came off, I think taking with the H pawn is so dangerous.
oh yeah, I should have taken with the F, right?
I think, well, just in terms of like drawing like chances, because I think black has like a lot of chances because you're never gonna get the H pawn because your king can't get in, and then they can create a passer on the queen side.
Yeah, I know, and actually was so scared. Like for a second, I was like, "Oh my god, I messed it up." But then I found, well, I already found like before trading the resource of e4, but for a second I thought it was losing. And then it was a miracle that I said, wait a second, I can just come with my king, and she can never use the technique promoting and promoting because then I'll promote with my two passed pawns.
Yeah, and she made the error with king b, moving her king to b7.
Yeah, that was a terrible mistake.
And because
I didn't understand that move.
Yeah, you could have also started with f3 before moving your king in, I think, as well. But I think it will maybe transposes. But she probably needed to play a bit more actively. Because it's still, when it comes to king e3, like the engine's still giving zeros, and it's still pretty scary because I think that she just needs to march her pawn all the way to like h2. Like she needs to create her passer on the a file and the h file and march them both.
Oh yes, my opponent was here.
Ah,
she's so nice. Okay, Matt. So, right. Are you able to tell me my accuracy?
Oh, yeah. Let me put that through. It doesn't give it to me like straight out the gate.
Yeah, it doesn't pop up. Yeah.
But let me just put it in a.
Thank you.
Game review.
I hope it's at least like 85.
Let's just copy. Da-da-da.
Hold on, I'll turn my video off, but I'll be here.
Yeah.
Are you doing it like manually?
Yeah. It's in review mode now. It's on like 2%. So yeah. But yeah, I think in general, like, because the things that would have brought you down are king c1, I think. I kind of liked king d7, but I would have preferred, king d2, but I would have preferred king e2. Even though it's on the file, they just can't open the file. What other moves? Yeah. And then like h takes. I think h takes might severely lower your accuracy because it gives black an advantage.
So how much was the accuracy?
Oh, 87. There you go.
Okay. It's not that bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Considering that chess.com is like, like in my game from yesterday, chess.com gives me like 85 and Lichess gives me like 91.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Like you usually just let like a very slight difference, but this time was like massive.
Wow. Like
yeah, but 87 is pretty decent considering.
Yeah, that's really decent. She was 83. But the knight f8 I think is really hard to deal with. But I think essentially the top line it wanted was c4 and allowing knight e6, and then you take, and then I have
to do the exchange, right?
Yeah, and then you just say you've got two pawns.
I thought about it for like a long time, but I was just scared.
Yeah, or king e2. It also wants king e2.
Yeah.
So like c4 is top move, king e2 is second move, f5 is third move.
Yeah, like literally I was considering
all
those
of them.
moves.
Yeah. And then rook e5. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so many moves to consider. Like and yeah, it's you got a really, really good position out of the opening. And I think it is practically hard. Like
she played weirdly in the opening.
I think she was like doubled pawns, like the bishop for the knight and the double pawns, and I was just like, actually.
Honestly, I think that she just wanted to trade as many pieces as she could.
Yeah, it does feel like that. And then like c takes as well, really good decision. You made like some really and g6 is terrible for her. Like g6 was.
Oh yeah, because I was very happy when she did that.
She just needs to develop her pieces. Like that's all she needs to do.
Yeah.
This is why rook b1, like g6, a4, even maybe rook b1 after g6 as well, because you just stop knight d7. It's just prophylaxis.
Okay.
Well, not just, but you're obviously pressuring a pawn, and the knight can't move, and like, well, the knight can go to a6 if it wants, but
Yeah.
Terrible.
Okay.
All right. That was
Well,
a
it was
really
a
good game,
long
though.
game, so thanks for staying with me three
No,
hours and a half.
no worries, no worries. It was really interesting to watch. Also because I'm learning Queen's Gambit declined as black, so I was quite interested to see how it panned out.
Nice.
It did not give me
Nice.
confidence.
So,
um,
so yeah, Matt, thank you very much for commentating.
no worries, and I'll maybe catch you on the last round, but I'll follow up about that.
Perfect. I'm sure people will be so happy if you manage to.
Awesome. All right. Have a
All
really
right,
nice
Matt.
rest of
Thank you
your day,
very
and good
much.
luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Let's do this. Great game. And we will send a raid out, and I will eat some food. I am starving. Oh, thank you so much, Dabo. Wait, let me copy and paste that. That's huge. What a legend. I'll check that out. That's really helpful. Thank you so much. All right, we will raid. We will raid. Who do we want to raid? Is the question. Who is live? Who is live? Oh, Agne's live. I haven't seen her live in a while. All right, we're raiding Agne. Let's go. Let's go. All right, chat. Have a great time. And I will catch you later on.